You're listening to WZRE 103.7, late night broadcast from what's left of Greymouth. I'm still here, Cal, still talking, still hoping someone out there's got a radio that works and a mind that hasn't started unraveling yet. If I'm being honest, I didn't notice it at first. Not really. It started too small, slipped right past my usual sense of weird, and that's saying something for a guy who once ran a full hour of dead air thinking it was a jazz track. I got a call 3 weeks ago now. I think it was 3. Days don't behave the same anymore. It was from a man named Howard, and he sounded distant. Not the usual distant, not grief or paranoia. Just hollow, like he was speaking from inside a memory that didn't want to hold him. He said, "My wife's gone." And I asked, like a fool, "Gone where?" He didn't answer right away. Just sat in the static for a long while. Then he said, "I forgot her name this morning. That was the last thing." After that, the photos changed. Her toothbrush disappeared. Her voice stopped echoing in the hallway. And I realized there's nothing left of her. Just me, remembering I forgot. At the time, I chalked it up to grief. A bad dream, a bad week, some stroke of private tragedy folding in on itself. I said the usual. Take care, write things down, talk to people. I didn't think to press him harder, but then the calls kept coming. Not all the same story, not word for word, but similar, close enough to rhyme. A woman said her sister stopped answering texts, stopped coming to work, and when she brought her up at dinner, nobody knew who she meant. Her own parents shrugged. "We never had another daughter," they told her. "You've always been an only child?" She showed them pictures. The faces were blurred. The names had faded from the captions. That's when I started listening more closely. Because it's not just people dying. We've lived with that. We know what loss feels like. This is something else. This is subtraction. A steady, silent erasure of people the moment they're no longer actively remembered. Not gone from life. Gone from reality. Like a file deleted. From a drive and overwritten before the system even notices. It isn't violent. It's quiet. Clinical. Like the world is tidying itself up and can't be bothered to ask if you're finished using something. I went through the old station logs. Turns out we had a co-host once. Her name's been scrubbed. Her chair's still here, and I found a cracked mug under the desk. Lipstick stain, half faded. I feel her absence, like a song I used to know the words to, but when I tried to describe her, nothing. No voice, no face. Just a static blur in my memory. There's a particular kind of horror in forgetting someone you know mattered. Not just forgetting their name or their face. Forgetting that they ever were. And once it starts, it doesn't stop. I've seen it happen on air. A caller will say a name, then hesitate, then correct themselves, then go silent. "Wait. No, that's not right," they'll say. "I thought there was someone else in the room. Never mind." You hear the truth drain out of them like water through cupped hands. I'm not sure what's doing it. Some people think it's a phenomenon, others think it's divine. Like, we reached some kind of collective threshold, some tipping point where we just stopped carrying each other properly. I don't know. I only know what I see and what I don't see, so I started writing names down. It felt foolish at first, like I was playing make-believe. But after a week, the paper started becoming sacred. Not in a religious sense, just necessary. A tether. A spell. My fridge is covered in Post-it notes now. Names, dates, descriptions, little truths I refuse to let dissolve. I read them out loud every morning. Sometimes I cry halfway through. But I finish, because forgetting is a kind of violence now. And memory might be the only shelter we've got left. I don't know what this is yet, but I think it's getting closer. Whatever this is, it feeds on neglect, on quiet, on the names we leave behind when we change the subject. So I'll keep talking. I'll say the names I know. I'll tell you what I remember. Because if we stop remembering each other, well, that's when we disappear. That's when we disappear. It's still the line that gets me. Every time I say it, I feel like I'm tempting fate. Like just acknowledging it out loud draws it closer. Like turning your back on the ocean and pretending the tide's not coming in. But it's true. And I think we're all starting to feel it, even if we can't quite name it yet. That creeping tug in the gut when something's missing and you can't explain what. That moment when a room feels too empty for how small the change was. It's not just names, it's the weight of people that's vanishing. I mean, the gravitational pull they used to have in your life. The sound they made in a space. The way they changed the air when they walked in. That's what's going first. And once you stop noticing the gap, the person who made it is gone too. I talked to a man yesterday, or maybe the day before. His voice was sharp, tired. You could hear the edge in it, like he was afraid to breathe too long in case the silence took him. He said, "I was in line at the grocery store. The cashier started bagging my stuff, then stopped halfway through and just stared at me. Asked me who I was shopping with. I looked around. My daughter was gone. Just gone. I'd been holding her hand not 5 minutes earlier." He checked the security camera footage later. There was a little flicker, just a frame skip, and suddenly he was alone. The bagger didn't even flinch, just adjusted the count on the receipt like it made perfect sense. I asked him her name. He paused. That silence, it wasn't long, maybe 2 seconds. But that was enough, he said. And then he hung up. That's the thing. It's not just forgetting. It's the hesitation. That tiny reflexive pause before we speak, when the name doesn't come right away, when the image is just a little too foggy. That pause is the doorway. And whatever this force is, it walks right through Aya. Looked out the booth window earlier. There's a billboard across the street for a dentist's office. There used to be a face on it. Smiling, clean teeth, bright background. Now it's just text. Gentle care for every smile. No logo, no name, just a blank white field where the face used to be. And I can't remember if it was a man or a woman, or if there was ever a face at all. I think that's the worst part. The uncertainty. Knowing something is missing, but not having the tools anymore to figure out what. You start to doubt yourself. Start thinking maybe you made them up. Maybe there never was a coworker named Jenna, or a neighbor with a loud laugh, or a friend who called every Sunday just to see if your radio still worked. But deep down, there's this weight you carry when someone mattered. Even if you forget the details, that feeling lingers. Or at least, it used to. Now it feels like even the residue is being cleaned up. Like the world is polishing itself smooth. And the holes aren't just in memory. They're physical too. Last night, I drove past the corner diner, Lenny's. Used to be open 24/7, lights buzzing, people smoking on the curb. I slowed down to look. The building's still there, but the sign's gone. The windows are boarded. No scorch marks, no tape, just a sense that nothing ever happened there. Like it's always been closed. I asked around this morning during call-ins. Got dead air. Nobody remembers Lenny's. I even said the name. Someone said, "I don't think we ever had a diner here." A pause. Then, "You might be thinking of somewhere else." That's how it starts. First they're somewhere else, then they're not real. And then, eventually, you're the only one still saying their name out loud, and the moment you stop, so do they. So no, I won't stop. I won't let these names fall off the map. Not without a fight. I remember Lenny's. I remember Howard's wife, and that man's daughter, and whoever used to sit in the empty co-host chair beside me. I remember someone named Anna. I don't know who she was. I just woke up saying the name 2 mornings ago, and now it's on a sticky note above the mic. Just 5 letters in fading ink. Maybe that's all memory really is now. Ink and paper and breath. But I'll take it. Because if we stop speaking them, they stop existing. And I am not ready to forget. The sticky notes weren't my idea. That started with a woman named Evelyn, if she's still here. She called the station maybe a week ago, maybe longer. Time's elastic lately. But her voice was firm, certain. The kind of voice that had seen some things and wasn't interested in embellishment. She said, "Write everything down. Names, places, pets, songs. Doesn't matter how small. Write it and speak it." That's how I've kept my husband. That's how I remember myself. At the time, I took it as a nervous strategy, a coping mechanism. But I did it anyway. A post-it note here, a receipt scribbled on there, just in case. Now my booth looks like an archive. Names stuck to the window, taped across the console, trailing up the walls like ivy, each one a lifeline, a defense against oblivion. It's not superstition, it's preservation. And I'm starting to understand that memory is no longer passive. It's become tactile. The moment you write something down, it anchors in the world a little more, as if physical inscription overrides the vanishing process. Not permanently, nothing seems permanent anymore, but long enough to matter, long enough to remember, at least until the next storm of forgetting blows through. You'd be surprised how quickly people vanish from your mind once the decay begins. It's not like pulling a loose thread and watching the sweater unravel. It's more like mold in a wall, silent, invasive, unnoticed until the structure gives. You go to say someone's name, and your mouth blanks. You picture their face, and it fuzzes like an old CRT screen switching channels. You stand in a room you shared with them and feel nothing. No echo, no impression. They were a shadow in your life, and now even the shadow is burned out. But the paper helps. Somehow. Maybe it's because the act of writing requires intention. Memory becomes action. And in this new reality, action is resistance. I've developed a system now. I log every caller's name, first and last if they offer it, along with the time of call and any personal detail they give me, where they live, what they remember, who they've lost. I read those details aloud at the start of every broadcast. I call it the roll of record. And here's the thing. Those names they hold, the people who get named on air, they don't vanish. Not right away. One man even called back to thank me, said his brother had started fading, blurring around the edges, and then he heard me say the name live, said the photos sharpened again. The voice came back. The air in the house felt less thin. Is it magic? No, it's method. When phenomena, present in patterns, in causally traceable frameworks, we don't call them anomalies. We call them systems, and this is a system, an anti-entropy loop where memory spoken aloud sustains existence. A metaphysical failsafe built into consciousness, maybe. Or maybe this is something newer, something still forming its rules. But the implication is clear. Forgetting is not passive negligence. It is participation in erasure. I've started making lists every morning, as soon as I wake up, before the fog creeps in. Names I'm afraid I'll lose. Names that tug at the edge of my dreams. Sometimes they're just first names. Sometimes even less. A letter, a gesture, a smell I can't place. I write them down anyway. Because someone has to remember. Because someone was. The station's getting cluttered. There's hardly any clear surface left in here. But I don't dare remove a single note. Not even the ones I think might be duplicates. Because every repetition is reinforcement. Every scribble is a kind of prayer. And there's another detail, one I've been hesitant to say aloud. Some of the names on my wall, I don't remember writing them. They're in my handwriting. The ink matches. But the names, completely unfamiliar. No faces, no stories attached. Just these odd little entries that seem to appear overnight. I've started reading them too, carefully. Like touching the surface of something sacred and volatile, because maybe I didn't write them. Maybe someone else did. Or maybe they were left by someone who no longer exists to claim them. So I'll keep collecting. I'll keep reading. I'll keep speaking. Because silence is no longer neutral. It's complicity. And as long as I have ink and paper and breath, I refuse to let this world go quietly. There's a drawer in the back of the station. Heavy, metal, rusting at the hinges. It used to hold old equipment manuals and coiled cables, but now it's where I keep the tapes. Yeah, tapes. Reel to reel, some of them. Others are cassettes, those black plastic bricks with stickers half peeled and scribbled labels in faded pen. Call log, night 514, storm reports, week 22, student interviews. Most of them are from years ago, before I ever sat behind this mic full time. Some before I even worked here. They were gathering dust until the forgetting started, and I realized I needed more than post-it notes to anchor what used to be real. I play them at night now. Not on the air, not usually. just here in the booth with the door shut, the world hushed, and the only sound coming through that old, battered player, the echo of voices too stubborn to let go. The first one that caught me was a call-in from a woman named Valerie. She said she worked the night shift at the textile mill and liked to keep the radio on low in her office because it sounded like someone breathing on the other end. I listened to that tape 3 times before I realized something was off. Not with her story, but with me. I couldn't remember her, couldn't place her voice, even though she said my name like we'd spoken before. She laughed like she was used to it, like it was a ritual between us. I checked the log. There's no Valerie listed, no number, no note, just the tape and the sound of someone being remembered, only by the machine. It scared me at first, knowing there are voices here that don't belong to my memory. But the more I listened, the more I began to understand. These tapes are rescue lines, fragments of people preserved in the iron oxide and plastic, waiting to be heard again. Because the act of listening isn't just passive anymore, it's reconstruction. I started a project. I call it the Echo Wall. Every name I hear in the recordings goes on it. No exceptions. Doesn't matter if I remember them. Doesn't matter if I trust the context. If a voice said it, it matters. It was. And sometimes, when I say those names out loud into the mic, I feel something shift in the room. Not temperature, not pressure. Something more intimate, like the air's listening, like the booth remembers them too. There was one recording I found from a winter 5 years ago, a school closure announcement, barely 30 seconds long. The woman reading it signs off with, "Take care of each other and don't let the wind in." No name, no context, but I know that voice. I felt it. The kind of tone that only comes from someone who's scared and holding it together because someone else needs them to. She's on the wall now too. I've been playing short excerpts on air during the quietest hours, not just to fill time, but to anchor them in other people's heads. Because that's the next step, right? If I'm the only one remembering, then what happens when I'm gone? What happens when the booth goes dark? Memory can't be hoarded. It has to be shared, passed like a story around a fire, spoken until someone else knows the rhythm well enough to carry it forward. So I tell you this now, if you hear a name on this broadcast and you don't know who it is, write it down. Say it aloud. Say it again tomorrow, because someone, somewhere, once cared about that name. Someone whispered it before sleep. Someone cried it in anger or joy. And now it's up to us to keep it breathing. These tapes, they're not just history. They're the lifeboats of the forgotten, and I will keep spinning them, one voice at a time, until the reels go blank. I went looking for the school. It wasn't a whim. After hearing so many names on the tapes, after scribbling them down and saying them back into the air like mantras, I wanted to put my feet somewhere those names had once walked, somewhere that still held a trace of presence, even if it didn't remember what that presence was. Greymouth Elementary used to sit about 1.5 miles south of the station, nestled between a lopsided park and a parking lot full of old pickup trucks that never moved. I remember that much. Kids with red backpacks, the chain link fence always half bent near the far field, laughter drifting up into the late afternoon air like smoke. I remember driving past on early shifts, watching the janitor unlock the front door with a limp and a cigarette balanced between his lips. I remember. But when I went there yesterday, the building was still standing, and somehow it wasn't. It had the right number of windows. The flagpole was still there, rusted at the base, but the sign out front was blank. The marquee where they used to announce school playdates and closures was just a rectangle of faded plastic. No letters, no screws, nothing to suggest it had ever displayed a message. The doors weren't locked, the hallway lights worked, but everything inside felt paused. Not abandoned, not destroyed, just untouched. Like a movie set no one remembered to take down. There were no papers, no posters, no backpacks, no leftover scrawls on the whiteboards, just desks arranged in rows, chairs tucked neatly beneath them, like someone had come through after the last bell and reset the entire space to a neutral setting. I wandered the halls. I expected silence, and got it. But there was something underneath it. A pressure. A kind of waiting. the smell of dust that hadn't been disturbed in years. And still, the strangest part, the thing that turned my stomach hardest, was the absence of vandalism. No broken lockers, no graffiti, not even fingerprints on the glass, as if nothing had ever happened there at all. But I know better. I stepped into a classroom, 5th grade by the look of it, the kind with those long double windows that let in more heat than light. I walked past the front row of desks and stopped cold. There was something scratched into the wood, just faintly. Cal was here, my name, my handwriting. I recognized the curve of the C, the flat press of the L. I must have done it years ago. A guest reader, maybe. A substitute for a day. I don't know. But it was mine. And yet, I have no memory of standing in that room. No memory of that moment. Only proof. When I stepped back outside, the world felt smaller. The building didn't shrink. The sky didn't darken. But I felt smaller. Like something had been taken out of me in that classroom. And I hadn't realized it until I was standing under the sun again. Like some small tether had snapped. I got back to the station and wrote it down. Greymouth Elementary, 5th grade. Cal was here. I said it out loud 3 times and added it to the board. The problem is that I returned from the front office with a yearbook, 1998, pages unbroken. In my hands, it feels heavy and glossy, and all of the faces were blurry, not scratched out, not discolored, just steadily and gently losing focus, as if they had all moved a little when the shutter pressed. There are no names beneath the portraits. Where the captions should be, there is only white space. Additionally, there is a blank, square on the staff page, bottom right. I believe that one was meant to be me, though I'm not sure why. Not a single face was familiar to me, not even mine. I now discuss the school every night, not for sentimental reasons, not even for mourning. However, for preservation. For I will not allow it to be rewritten into non-existence. Not while I still have a pen, tape, and voice. A school existed. Every 3rd ring, a bell stuck, every chair in room 12 had gum underneath it. Rick was the janitor, and he was always there despite swearing under his breath. It had kids. There was laughter. In it, I was affected, and it continues to do so. Since I say so, I used to think memory had a grace period, that as long as someone lived in your thoughts for a while, flickered through now and then, like a light in a distant house, you were doing your part. That forgetting was slow, that it crept, that you had time to catch it, correct it, write it down, say their name. But that's not true anymore. The rules have changed. It happened while I was on air. Caller named James, regular guy, used to ring in on Thursdays, always asked if the rain was coming. He had this low, easy drawl like he'd been dipped in river water. You'd know his voice even if you'd only heard it once. Solid, familiar. He called in like usual, said he was seeing something strange with his mail. Letters. Arriving addressed to people he didn't know, with handwriting he recognized as his own. We talked for maybe 5 minutes. And then there was this little pause. The kind people do when they're reaching for a word or checking the time. Just a breath. Then his voice stopped. Not the line, not static, just nothing. Like someone hit mute not on the radio, but on the person. I said his name twice, 3 times. And the longer I said it, the less real it sounded. I scrambled for his file. His name scribbled in ink, circled twice. James H. Postman, called in 6 times this month. But the more I stared at the paper, the less I could feel him. The voice, the rhythm. It all just started thinning out in my head like smoke in wind. And then the name faded from the page. Literally, the ink dimmed, paled, vanished. I checked the call logs, blank. No number. Just a dead timestamp with nothing tethered to it. It wasn't slow. It wasn't creeping. It happened in a breath. 1 blink, 1 pause, and he was gone. That's when I knew. This isn't about slow erosion anymore. We're not dealing with the slow fade of memory. The system, whatever it is, it's accelerating, tightening the margin for error. The moment someone leaves your attention, even for a heartbeat, They're vulnerable, and that changes everything. I've had to change the way I speak now. I used to leave gaps, pauses, long silences between segments, time to breathe, to think, but I can't risk that anymore. The quiet invites forgetting. It gives the system room to work. Now I keep the mic hot. I keep the names close. I loop them. I chant them like scripture. When I say someone's name, I follow it with a detail, a tone, something that roots them deeper into the soil of my voice. Lindsay S. used to laugh like gravel in a coffee can. Evan T. always wore the same red flannel even in July. Paula, from down by the feed store, once stayed on the line just to read me her recipe for peanut brittle. These people existed. I remember them because I say them, but that's not enough now. They have to be heard by someone else. I can feel it. That new edge to the forgetting. It's not just about memory anymore. It's about witness. I used to think saying it aloud was enough. But no, now it has to echo. It has to land. It's not the memory that keeps them alive. It's the shared memory, the overlap, the communion. That's why the broadcast matters. That's why I'm still here, even when my throat goes raw and the power flickers and my bones scream for rest. Because if I forget, they're gone. And if you forget, well, that's when the lights go out for good. Not just here, everywhere. So I need you to remember with me. Say the names you hear out loud. Repeat them, even if you don't know them. Say them back to the radio. Let them pass through you like a song you don't want to forget. Because now, the forgetting doesn't wait for sleep. It doesn't wait for grief. It just waits for silence. And silence is everywhere. Silence is everywhere now. It creeps through the daylight like a fog, thick and sour. It gets into your eyes, your ears, your bones. Not just the absence of noise, but the kind of silence that pushes back when you try to speak into it, that swallows your voice. Like the air itself has grown indifferent to sound. I've stopped broadcasting during the day. I didn't make that choice lightly. Used to be I'd do the midday stretch too. Re-air old interviews, run weather reports, read off birthdays and anniversaries. But something changed about the light. Something in the way it presses down. People vanish faster when the sun's up. Like the forgetting feeds on illumination now. It's not just absence of thought, it's absence of shadow. I learned the hard way. It was around noon last week. I had a window cracked, just a sliver. The light hit my desk, golden and warm, and I was reading a name from the board. Just a name, no details yet. I blinked, one blink. And when I opened my eyes, the note was gone. Just gone. Not peeled away, not drifted down. Gone like it had never been stuck there in the first place. Couldn't remember the name. It had been there for days. Right in front of me. A man with a deep laugh and a missing front tooth. Someone who used to call in and sing old country verses off-key. But now he's just gone. And I'm the reason, so I went dark. Now the broadcast is strictly nights. I close the blinds, tape, black cloth over the cracks, and speak into a room that feels like a pocket outside of time. It's the only space that holds anymore. That respects memory. That lets it settle instead of scattering it like dust. The listeners, what few remain, understand. They've adapted. People leave voicemails timed for the night shift. They whisper into old recorders and mail me cassette tapes. They slide folded notes under the station door like offerings. All of it gets cataloged, read, spoken, out loud, on air. Names upon names, descriptions, little scraps of story, and every night it gets harder. There's less feedback from the tower, fewer responses. Even the radio waves feel thinner now, like the static has been pulled taut across a void that grows wider every hour. But I still go on, because I don't think the goal is to win. I think the goal is to hold, to keep whatever we can in place for as long as it'll stay. I've started calling the booth the Memory House. Not out loud, not until now, but that's how I think of it. Every inch of wall is covered in notes, old photographs, ticket stubs, children's drawings, mailed in with shaky handwriting, and little hearts drawn in the corners. A whole life's worth of fragments, preserved in paper and glue. Sometimes I catch myself looking at a name and mouthing it without sound. Just the shape of the word on my lips. Just to feel it. Because even a whisper is defiance. The outside world's gone pale, washed out, no birdsong in the morning, no car doors slamming, No footsteps on the sidewalk. And when I dare to go out, just briefly, just to gather what I need, I pass windows where people used to sit and read or drink or just exist, and now they're empty. Not closed, not dark, just still. Like those people slipped into the cracks of the world and no one noticed. But I noticed, and I'm not letting them go without a sound. So this is the new ritual. Night falls. The station lights dim. The air gets cooler. I speak the names. I read the fragments. I play the tapes. I chant the litany of the almost forgotten into the quiet and hope, somehow, that it reaches you. Because if you're hearing this, if your radio still works and your memory's still intact, then you're part of the resistance now. Not with guns or barricades, with voices, with breath, with repetition. Repeat after me. Say them out loud. Remember the names. Repeat after me. Remember the names. That was how I ended the broadcast that night. My voice a little hoarse, eyes gritty from reading too long under dim lights, fingers aching from scribbling names faster than I could file them. I signed off like I always do now. Softly, as if too much sound might undo what I'd just held together. And then I saw him. Just outside the station door, in the soft smear of light cast by the porch bulb, stood a man. Thin, tall, not moving. I couldn't make out his face at first, just his outline, still as stone, but not in that threatening way, in a way that suggested waiting. Or, remembering, I didn't want to open the door, not out of fear, out of something worse. Hope. The kind that can shatter if you breathe too hard on it. But I did it anyway. The man didn't speak when I stepped. Outside. He didn't look shocked to see me, didn't smile, just tilted his head a fraction, like he was listening for something deep under the ground. Then he said, "Who am I to you?" The words were soft, like wind through paper. He didn't ask with anger. He asked like someone waking from a dream and trying to grab hold of the last image before it fades. And I couldn't answer him. I should have known him. Something about the way he stood, the slope of his shoulders, the ragged edges of his sleeves. I should have known him. But there was a blank spot in my head, cold and clean, where his name should have lived. A negative space. Not even absence. Just missing. Still, I didn't want to let him slip. Not again. So I did what I've learned to do. I spoke. I said what I saw. I described him out loud. Height, build, the faint scuff on his left boot, the crease lines around his eyes. I said these things not to him, but for him. To give him shape. To make him real. And for a moment, I swear, I saw his face begin to focus. Like it was sharpening in real time. Like my words were drawing him back into place. He nodded once. Just a small motion. Then he said, "I was almost gone, but I heard my name. On the radio." He smiled. It wasn't a wide smile, just a hint. The kind of smile people give when they're grateful, but not sure they deserve it. Then he started to fade. Not dissolve, not vanish. Fade, like a memory stepping backward. The more I stared, the more the porch light passed through him, as if he were made of dust and old stories. "I'm sorry," I whispered, but I don't know if he heard it. He was already gone. I stood there for a long time, hand on the doorknob, trying to hold the moment still in my mind like a slide under glass. I went back in, grabbed a pen, wrote everything I could remember about him. Man at the door, maybe 6'2", right boot scuffed, smelled faintly of cedar, voice soft, said I said his name, said he was almost gone. No name. Still no name. But that's how I know the rules are shifting again. The forgotten are beginning to echo. Not all the way. Not solid, but enough to reach back. Enough to show up at the door like a ghost knocking on the edge of memory. I think when we say their names, when we remember hard enough and long enough, it gives them a kind of tether. Not permanence, but an invitation to return, even if just for a flicker. Since then, I've kept the porch light on. I read names with the door cracked open now, just in case someone needs to find their way back. Just in case someone's listening, on the other side of the static. And if they do come back, I'll be ready. I'll describe them again and again. I'll tape their name to the wall, to the mic, to my chest if I have to. Because what we forget doesn't go quietly, it just waits for someone to speak loud enough to bring it home. So keep speaking with me. Keep listening. If you've seen someone you thought you lost, if they stood in your doorway, asked you who they were, don't turn away. Don't blink. Say what you see. Say it out loud. Make them real again. Say what you see. Say it out loud. Make them real again. That line's been living in my throat ever since the man on the porch disappeared. I think about him every time I open the mic, every time I press play on an old cassette, every time I wake up with someone's name barely clinging to the edges of a dream. It changed something in me, watching him try to hold himself together while I fumbled for the words that might have anchored him here. So I started a ritual. It began small, one segment each night, right after midnight. Just a list. Names. First. And last, if I had them. Locations. Snippets. Sarah T. rode a red bike to the bakery every Tuesday. Milo C. taught 6th grade, wore a sunflower pin on his jacket all spring. Just enough detail to bring the shape back. Enough to cast a shadow, but it didn't stay small for long. People started calling in not with stories or questions, but with names. Not lost ones, not missing ones, just ones they didn't want to lose. Can you say my grandmother's name? Can you remember my sister? Can I leave a message for someone I think I forgot? The airwaves became sacred ground. Not dramatic, not tearful, just reverent. Like we all understood instinctively that the names needed space, needed breath. That even if the people behind them were long gone, the sound of their names spoken aloud was a kind of defiance, a kind of love, and maybe more than that, a kind of glue. We don't have many tools left. Electricity is fickle, memory is fragile, the light's not trustworthy anymore, and time doesn't flow in the clean line it used to. But voice, that's something we can still wield, and naming is the sharpest blade in our hand. So we say them every night, together. I start the ritual just after midnight. I read my list, and then I play yours. The calls, the messages. Sometimes I have to edit out the static or amplify whispers so thin I wonder if the speaker was already fading as they said the words. But I make it work. One little girl calls in every night at the same time, says the same thing. I want to remember my brother. He was really loud. That's it. No name, no other detail. Just that one line. I think that's all she can hold on to now. That he was loud, that he filled space. I make sure to say that for her. I say, the brother who was loud. He lived. He was here. He mattered. It's not enough. It'll never be enough, but it's what we have. And I think it works. I've started hearing something strange. Not creepy, not quite, but curious. During the broadcasts, when we're deep in the ritual, there's this hum underneath the signal. At first I thought it was interference, but it's consistent. It rises during the names, falls during the silences. It almost sounds like someone singing along, not in words, in tones, in agreement. I don't know who or what it is. Maybe it's the forgotten, circling close, trying to stitch themselves back into the seams of the world. Maybe it's us, reflected back, a chorus of memory bouncing off whatever's left of the stars. But I like to think the names matter. The ritual, I like to believe, is holding the line. Therefore, call in if you know someone. If you have a name that you mutter to yourself when the house is silent, say it. On the phone, say it. Into the static, into your car's vacant booth. If you believe that no one is listening, it makes no difference. Yes, I am, and someone else will be if I'm not, because this is no longer merely a broadcast. A memory net is what it is, a catch for every name that gets lost. We do not forget you. We do not forget us. We remember us. That's what I told myself last night when the broadcast cut out mid-name. One second I was reading, Tomas J. used to whistle when he was nervous, always forgot his umbrella. And the next, there was nothing. No pop, no power surge, just this sudden drop, like the words hit a wall they weren't supposed to. Touch. I stared at the board. every needle frozen, the signal flatlined, and in that moment, I didn't panic. I just listened because it wasn't silent. It was static, not the harsh kind, not the scream of dead air or failing equipment. It was soft, layered, almost melodic, like a tide pulling itself back through sand. And underneath it, I swear, I heard whispers. Not voices I could name, not phrases I could understand, just shapes of sound folding in and out of the signal, like smoke curling through wire. I sat there for a long time, headphones on, booth dark except for the soft red glow of the battery backup. I didn't breathe much, didn't blink. I was afraid I'd miss something important. Or worse, remember, something I wasn't supposed to. And then I heard a voice, faint, thin as a thread pulled too tight. It said, "You left me." I turned off the tape, checked every machine in the booth. Nothing was playing, no lines were open, no cassettes in the decks, but the words lingered anyway, like condensation, on a mirror, something that couldn't be wiped away no matter how much I wanted to believe it wasn't real. You left me. I didn't know who it was. That was the worst part. I wanted to. I searched the board, the logs, the tape reels, looking for a Thomas J, or anyone I might have missed, someone I'd forgotten to say, someone I'd only half remembered, and all I found was a note I don't remember writing. Tucked into the margin of the call list was a single line. Don't trust the gaps. Not in my handwriting. Not entirely. Close, but slanted wrong. Heavier strokes. It was like someone trying to write as me. Or maybe me trying to write after the forgetting had already started creeping in. Since then, the static has come back. Not always, just in those soft spots, between names, between breaths. It waits, hums low, like something pacing on the other side of the wall. And sometimes I think the wall's thinning, like the longer I speak into the night, the closer it gets. Or maybe I'm the one moving, talking myself toward the threshold. I've started writing things on my arm, names mostly, but also fragments. Don't pause. Say it twice. Light means danger. Your name is Cal. Just in case. Just so I don't forget myself, because I think that's next. The system, whatever it is, it doesn't want noise. Doesn't want variance. It wants stillness, emptiness, clean lines where people used to be, and voice, real voice, full of memory and ache and imperfection. That's noise. That's threat. Which is why I think the static isn't trying to scare me. It's trying to replace me, to smooth over my words, to record over the tape of my mind until it can't be played again. But not yet. Not while I can still speak. Not while I can still hear even the faintest trace of someone whispering in return. So I keep going. One name at a time, one breath at a time. And when the static comes again, and it will, I'll say it louder. Because if there's something waiting behind that hum, something trying to write me out, it's going to have to work a hell of a lot harder. It's strange how your own name can start to sound foreign. I've been saying it every night, opening each broadcast with the same line, like a lighthouse flashing out over black water. You're listening to W's Re, Greymouth. This is Cal. And most nights that's enough to steady me, to hold the thread, to remind myself that I'm still here, still anchored, still separate from the static that presses in through every crack. But tonight, I hesitated. Just a second. Maybe less. But it was there. The pause, the uncertainty, the part of my mind that flickered and tried to skip over it. Like the name didn't fit in my mouth quite right anymore. I caught it just in time. This is Cal, I said again, sharper, like I was correcting someone. But no one else had spoken. And that's the thing. It's not that the world is trying to erase us out of cruelty. It's just that it doesn't seem to mind. If we stop saying who we are, it's only too willing to help finish the forgetting, to file us under blank space, to let the voice fade and call it silence. So now I say it constantly. I write it on my arm, again and again, like a child practicing cursive. I tape it to the mic. I whisper it during the long silences. My name is Cal. My name is Cal. My name is Cal. Not because I think someone will forget me, because I know I might forget myself. I found an old notebook on the floor this morning, dog-eared and stained from coffee and time. Inside were pages and pages of names I don't remember writing, names I'm not sure I ever knew. Some are crossed out, some have little symbols next to them, stars, triangles, half-finished hearts. One has a circle drawn around it so many times the paper's nearly torn through. But next to that one, scrawled in the margin, he had green eyes. He told me I used to sing. I read that part 3 times. I tried to remember who I'd sung to, when, but there was nothing. Just a hollow warmth in my chest, like the memory had been removed, but the shape it left behind still glowed faintly. I read his name on air anyway, and when I did, I felt a pressure lift. Not gone, not completely, but loosened, like something holding its breath had exhaled just slightly. I think that's what this place has become now, not just a radio booth, but a memory engine. One last furnace of identity, burning scraps, of story to keep the world lit just a little longer. But it's exhausting. Every name I say feels heavier. Every list is harder to finish. And sometimes, when I get halfway through one and glance down at the notes, the paper looks blank. Not empty, blank. Like it was never touched, like I never wrote the names in the first place. That's when I panic. That's when I scramble, repeat, clutch at whatever I can remember. Because once they're gone from the page, they start to fade from me too. And I know the system is watching for that, waiting for it. It doesn't need to erase us violently. All it needs is our silence, our forgetfulness, our surrender. So I won't give it that. Even if my voice fails, even if the power cuts out, even if this whole station crumbles into dust, I'll carve my name into the dust and speak it again. Since my name is Cal, I'm present and I am still here as long as I continue to say that, over and over, through every stutter of static and breathless pause. I might not recall everything. I might lose people. I might lose spots. I won't lose myself though. I go by Cal. My name is Cal. That's how I started the broadcast tonight. No station ID, no timestamp, just those 4 words. A name like a match struck in a cave. It flickers, but it's still light. Still heat? I didn't open with music. Didn't answer the blinking call light. I didn't even sit. I just stood at the mic, notebook in hand, and I read. Because this is the last list. I don't mean that dramatically. Not in the way people say last when they want attention. I mean it because the board is almost empty. The lines are quiet. The mail slot hasn't creaked in days. The tapes are nearly silent. Most of them blank now, even the ones I know. We're full just last week, and the wall of names is falling. The post-it notes have begun to peel. The ink fades before I can press it down. I write a name, and within the hour it feels like I'm tracing something I never meant to write. The paper doesn't hold them like it used to. It's like even the act of remembering is being erased. The intention of memory slipping away. But I have this one list, the one I've kept folded in my pocket since the beginning. I've never read it aloud. Until now. They're not the loud names, not the ones repeated to me on air, not the neighbors, or the callers, or the people from the tapes. These are mine, the names I've carried alone, the ones I was afraid to share because I knew that once I did, I'd have to let them go. But holding them hasn't saved them, so I read, Marla J. knew how to take the sting out of winter just by walking in the room. Eddie D. used to fall, asleep mid-sentence on the phone, but always called back the next morning. Sam, just Sam, drove the long roads at night and left coffee at the station door every Friday. Talia R. laughed like she didn't believe in endings. Jonas, my brother, taught me the word echo and said my voice would carry farther than I ever could. There are more. I say each one, even the ones that make my throat catch. I say them clearly, slowly, with the kind of care I wish I'd spoken with before all this started, before forgetting had weight, before silence meant death. Because this is how we honor them now. Not with flowers, not with stone, but with sound, with vibration, with noise that carves itself into air and says, they were here, they were real, they mattered, and now The last name on the list. I pause. I look down. It's mine, Cal. I don't know who wrote it there. Maybe it was me, a long time ago, when the fear first curled around the edge of my mind. Maybe it was someone else, someone I've already lost, making sure I didn't vanish quietly. Either way, I say it, Cal. I press my palm flat against the page, like that might hold me in place just a little longer. Then I fold the list, slide it under the console. Not to hide it, to preserve it, to leave something behind when the lights finally cut out for good. I don't know who's still listening, if anyone. But if you are, if even one voice out there hears mine tonight, carry this with you. Say the names you remember. Whisper them. Shout them. Write them on mirrors and fences and skin if you have to. Not for history. For continuity, because the forgetting isn't just an accident. It's a choice. And remembering, especially when it's hard, is the most human thing we have left. So if I fade tonight, if my voice slips into static and doesn't come back, don't be afraid. Just say my name, say yours, and we won't be gone. Not completely. Not as long as someone's still listening.